Hello everyone, Helen Yu here at IBM Think in Boston. I'm joined by Jared Michalec, who is the head of innovation at Blue Polaris. Hello Jared, so nice to see you here.
Hi Helen, thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about generative transformation today. But before we do so, Jared, give us an introduction about yourself and tell us a little bit more about Blue Polaris as well.
Sure. So Blue Polaris is an IBM business partner. We've been working closely with IBM for decades collectively. I actually came into IBM about 20 years ago through an acquisition. Worked on the worldwide team at IBM, focused on business automation at the time called Smarter Process. And recently we've been obviously getting much more into AI, both with generative AI, agentic AI, models, et cetera. And so we focus on making sure our clients are successful with that technology. So going beyond the sandboxes and the skunkworks projects and the pilots and really understanding what the true value of AI can do for them.
Okay. And then what about yourself, your role?
So I'm head of innovation, which is kind of a grandiose term, but I am really focused on helping our clients understand what they can do with the technology, getting creative with maybe new use cases, new ideas, understanding where they can start applying this, both from an AI perspective, but also a broader transformational side.
Okay. This is my second thing. What about you?
I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, I think I've been to every Think that IBM has had. It's evolved over the years. It started with what was called Impact, and that turned into Interconnect, and then Think came about, and then they split the technical side with more of the business and executive side. So I attend both Think and then Tech Exchange in the fall, which is also a great conference. But it's definitely evolved and changed over the years.
Absolutely. Blue Polaris positioned itself as a North Star for generative transformation. So tell us, what does that mean for your clients beyond just adopting AI?
So I like to equate it to what we saw the digital transformation of years past, and looking at how organizations can not just do these one-off kind of spot projects, but really start leveraging and building a platform or a framework with, so that the value can accelerate and truly get better and better with each subsequent implementation. And so thinking about that North Star, understanding what is your ultimate goal, where are you trying to achieve, and ensuring that each one of those projects is kind of marching you towards that goal, that it's not just AI for AI's sake or automation for automation's sake. I've seen too many automation projects fail, not technically, they were a technical win, but just never really got off the ground, never really got adopted because they weren't focused on that kind of North Star approach and really trying to march the company towards something bigger.
Yeah, that's very important point you just raised. Speaking of that, I work with a lot of companies trying to transform their business with or without AI, right? But what are you seeing kind of the evolution for traditional business to use automation?
Yeah, what's interesting is when we started embarking on AI projects, there was definitely a feeling that this could displace a lot of what we would traditionally implement with our clients around business rules, content management, business process. And the reality is that we're seeing those core technologies become more important, not less. And understanding that most of the time, in fact, in all cases that I've seen, it's not is this an AI project or is this a more traditional business automation project? It's always both. It's always both. Yeah. And so really, and that's really where we start to see the AI be able to leverage what's already there. So these massive investments that companies have made in transformation projects over the decades, how do we use AI to make those better, not to replace what's already there?
Makes total sense to me. By the way, congratulations on winning the IBM Plus Partner Award today. And then as an IBM Gold Business Partner, what are the business biggest obstacle you're seeing that for enterprise to move beyond AI pilot to scalable AI?
Yeah, we're having a lot of interesting conversations with clients that have either tried to implement AI on their own or we are working with them and partnering. And in many cases, that initiative, even if it has a true ROI, if there's something of value there, if we can measure what the outcome would look like, it's getting stopped at the CISO and the IT security side. So better governance, better oversight, better trust. I think that's really what we need to start establishing earlier than I think what's been done in the past. And understanding, yes, this is a great project and it looks like it's going to really help. And in some cases, we have ROIs that are, 10x, payback periods in an order of days or weeks, and still getting stopped and still not rolling out because there's still that, lack of trust or fear of, it doing something that's not expected. And so what we're helping clients do is certainly a crawl, walk, run approach, not trying to go too far with the AI, not trying to automate everything, many times keeping the human in the loop, in some cases 100% of the time initially, and then slowly ramping it up once we do build that trust and build that understanding, and also have the proper guardrails and oversight and monitoring in place. That's really the only way we've seen successful rollouts of these AI projects.
Yeah, I can relate to that, right? Serving as a board director at a couple companies, trust governance have always been the foundation, needs to be a foundational layer. That's a great segue for my next question. As the generative AI becomes part of core business operation, what is the one guardrail enterprise must have to take this lead with AI?
I think it's an interesting question. I don't know that there's one guardrail necessarily. I think it depends on the use case. One of the things that we see, and as partners with IBM, I think it's becoming very apparent, is you can't have trust, oversight, governance without having more of a central gateway type of approach. So if you have these one-off AI models, going out to ChatGPT or out to Claude or out to Gemini, and users are trying to do all these things on their own, that it's impossible to have something overseeing that, because these are all, you can either block those network sites or try to lock things down, and what happens is the users will actually find workarounds to those, right, and take
shadow
screenshots.
AI, right?
Exactly. Shadow AI is absolutely a huge problem right now. So IBM's big bet is, can we funnel those into a single central gateway, still let them use the endpoints and the platforms and the models that they want, but now we have the trust, the monitoring, the oversight, and you can't do that without having that go through a single agentic layer. It also improves end user experience. It's not reducing or limiting what those users can do. It's actually making it better, because as an end user, especially if I'm not as familiar with AI, I don't need to know what model to call or what endpoint I need to go to. I can come in through a single kind of one agent rule them all, and let that agent kind of supervise and pass that on to other models.
Yeah, I had a tour earlier on the playing with the concert platform, and I checked out with Bob today. Really exciting advancement.
It's amazing. Yeah, my one warning though is be careful how many tokens you feed into it, because it is something I've seen, where we can go through a month's worth of tokens in a single prompt. And so I think that's where there's also some opportunity to start to apply best practices and understanding and oversight, even just in the code generation AI.
Yeah, that's an important one to note. And then as an IBM champ, by the way, what conversation are you most excited about at things this year?
So I love this conference mainly because I get to hear stories about what's working and also what's not working. So having those conversations with organizations that are either still early stage and just kind of dipping their toe in the water, what is holding them up, what's keeping them from doing anything, and then the ones that are leading the charge and what they've experienced. And they have a lot of war stories that I like to hear. So I like to hear what mistakes have been made already so that we don't repeat them. And so just hearing those success stories and the failures is going to be key.
Me too. My last question, right, for any advice for those aspiring IBM champ like myself?
I'd say get involved, get on the communities, get on the forums. I'd love to, get on webinars. IBM does a great job with the ecosystem and bringing in non-IBMers into the fold and really helping them to kind of learn new things, see tech previews. And so I think get involved, talk to people. And, once you start engaging and having those conversations and trying some things out and even being a guinea pig for some of the new IBM technology, then that's a great way to get some recognition and some eyes on you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jared, for your time. I look forward to checking out Blue Polaris. So thank you so much, Jared. We'll see you soon. We'll see you around here.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Bye.